99% of creators do not need managers. But how do you negotiate with the brand? How do you pitch a brand? How do you get on a phone call with a brand? Which is that it's not just about you and what brands and products and services you love. It's about your audience. Wow, there's like ways to make money in this world that are kind of uncapped.
Welcome back to the Cypress Room, where we dive deep on influencing with integrity. This is a podcast for creators, and I'm Meggie Honeycutt.
And I'm Christina Mascari, and I'm just like grinning from ear to ear right now because we have such an exciting guest for you guys today that is going to teach you how to book your own smart partnerships, whether you're got 5 followers or you have 500,000 followers. He's amazing. He's one of my favorites. I've been following him for a while, so welcome to the Cypress Room, Justin Moore, better known as the Creator Wizard.
My goodness, Christina, Meggie, I'm so excited to be here. We're going to have a blast. We're going to dig into it. And I know a lot of people listening might be a little intimidated. They saw the title of this episode and they're like, sponsorships, that's terrifying. I'm just trying to grow my audience here. But don't worry, keep listening because there's lots of things that you can learn even if you've never done it before. That's me.
That's Justin Moore.
Justin Moore.
Justin Moore.
A sponsorship coach, made over $3 million.
$4 million.
$5 million in sponsorships.
I'm the guy hundreds of top creators call when they need help negotiating complex 5- and 6-figure sponsorships. But I wasn't always that guy. See, back in 2009, my girlfriend April and I were fresh out of college with our first full-time jobs. One day, I was lying on the couch in our apartment watching a YouTube video while April did her makeup next to me. You should start a makeup channel. She was skeptical. Maybe, but how would we film it? I have that old camcorder. I said, I'll even help you edit the video on Windows Movie Maker. That weekend, April filmed her very first YouTube video. After 30 days, 3,721 people had watched the video, including someone from the brand. Fast forward over a decade, and April and I have done more than 550 sponsorships, earning over $5 million. I sensed a more significant opportunity. So the pitch for my new business became pretty simple. I'll help you accomplish your brand objectives through influencer marketing. I would ultimately run that agency for 7 years, facilitate over 1,000 campaigns, pay out millions of dollars to creators, and discover countless secrets to unlocking brands' massive budgets. If you have influence over a body of people, I will teach you how to become a sponsor magnet so you can finally earn what you deserve. Ready? Let's begin.
Okay, and so we're going to get into the nitty gritty about your new book, Sponsor Magnet. But first, can we start out with you? Just kind of give us the short version of how you became a sponsorship coach and kind of your history with brand partnerships and social media.
You got it. So it was not me. Let's just get that right out of the way. It was my wife. Well, actually, girlfriend, fiance at the time. So she actually started her first YouTube channel in 2009. So rewind way back in the day, I was not doing anything around being a creator, influencer, whatever. I was actually in medical devices. So my background's in engineering. I'm probably the opposite of this, right? And what happened was, April started making content on YouTube just as a hobby. This was, again, 2009, the AdSense program was just starting. Like it was not like a clear path to like making money in 2009. In fact, it was application only initially. And she got rejected 3 times trying to apply. And so it was very much just like a hobby. She loved talking about beauty and skincare, cosmetics, etc. When the first brands that initially started reaching out, they were not offering to compensate her. They were offering free stuff. They were like, here's a $30 hair curler or whatever. And she was just like, yes, this is amazing. We were like, in our 20s, we had like no money. And so, makeup's expensive, as I definitely know. And so she was just like stoked out of her mind to just get free stuff all day. And that was years. For years, we were accepting free stuff. It wasn't just like we got wise after like a month. It was like, no, like this is awesome. And so what happened was I decided to go back to school and get my MBA at night after work. And I started taking these classes all around like advertising and marketing and negotiation and things like that. And I kept seeing, I would just like see these like hundreds of comments on all her YouTube videos where it was like, oh, thanks, April. I just went to the store and got it. Or, oh, I never heard of this brand. I just bought it on their site. And I just went to April one day. I was like, I feel like we're gonna kind of get in the short end of the stick here. Like a free $30 bag of potato chips is just not like adequate compensation for the value you're providing to these brands. I was like, okay, the next brand that emails, ask them if they have a budget to collaborate with you. And she's like, there's no way any brand's gonna like pay me money. I was like, come on, just try it. And so sure enough, she emailed the brand, and I'll never forget this. It was a online skincare company called iMomoko. She asked, they reached out, and she said, hey, do you have a budget to collaborate with me? And they said, oh yeah, sure. If you can talk about us in 2 videos a month, we will pay you $700 monthly. And we were just like, our minds were like completely blown. And our first, in the very next breath, we were like, how can we find 10 more brands just like this, right? Because it was like, I feel like a lot of people can appreciate this, where it's like, if you've only ever made kind of like 9-to-5 income, or like W-2 income, basically, you know, you get the same amount every single 2 weeks, or whatever the paycheck cadence is. And maybe you get like a cost of living, you know, raise, or like, maybe a promotion or something once a year. But this was the very first time in our lives where we were like, wow, there's like ways to make money in this world that are kind of uncapped. And so this led us down this really, you know, kind of decade plus long path of, you know, we've done over 550 sponsorships personally, made over $5 million doing it. So it was like our primary revenue stream for creators, as creators, for many years. And then basically the other kind of inflection point in our journey was about 2015. I was telling April, I was like, there's no way that people are going to like watch us on YouTube for like 20 years. Like things are going really well now, but like, you know, people are fickle, and we were vloggers, right? So it's like very much driven by life milestones, you know, and we were done with having our babies and buying the house, and like, what more can we do? No one cares about us anymore, this type of idea, right? And so I was like, okay, what can we do to like leverage this experience that we've built working with brands? And, you know, I, coming from kind of a product management background, project management, I was like, what if I could just maybe like go to our friends? And so basically it was like the brands that we would always work with would tell us like the same things every time. It's so seamless working with you guys. You're professional. We rarely need revisions on the content that you draft for us. You always hit the talking points, and you're really like nice. And so I was like thinking, could I like productize that like expertise? And so that was what I did. We had all these friends who were also creators. And so basically I just like one day I went to a brand who we had just done a deal with, and I said, hey, are you like having issues? Are you like looking to spread the word about this to more people? Because we have a bunch of friends who could like, you know, help you collaborate with as well. And so this led down the path of running an influencer marketing agency for about 7 years, paying out millions of dollars to other creators. And so this is kind of the Jekyll and Hyde of my personality. And I'm sure we'll get into this, but basically about 4 or 5 years ago, decided to just start educating creators around the process of collaborating with brands. And that's where we are today.
Yeah. So I want to dig a little deeper into that, because like, why wouldn't you just kind of go the agent route and be people's agents? What made you switch to like, no, I want to empower people to be able to do this for themselves? Where was that switch for you?
It was really
seems
hard.
like
It was
seems like a
really
huge
hard
passion,
because
though.
so I'll just gonna be like totally vulnerable, totally honest here. My agency failed. So this was in 2020. So what happened was about 5 years into it, running the agency, things were going really well. We were, you know, had lots of great clients. I had multiple full-time employees. You know, things were going really well, but my payroll was also really high in terms of all my employees and all that. And so when COVID hit, all of our clients were retail, CPG, like consumer packaged goods, and travel and hospitality, which were the 3 categories that were brutally eviscerated by the pandemic, right? And so, oh my God, my book fell. And so it was just so terrible. My book fell. And so it was awful. It was like one of the lowest points of my life. You know, a lot of the contracts that we had with our clients, they got pulled, and I just had to make a really, really tough decision, and ultimately had to lay everyone off. And not to mention, I was $100,000 in debt when I had to close the company, because I was, you know, I had like a line of credit. I had made all these like kind of investments into personnel and software tooling and all this stuff for the agency. And it was just this black swan event that just was this perfect storm. And so I was in this really, really low place, like a couple months into the pandemic. And I was just like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I didn't know if there was going to be like another chapter for me. Cause honestly, the agency was my goal to like diversify our income as a family. Cause I was like, you know, things are going great as creators now, but like, you know, let's do this other thing where it's not reliant on us. And so for the longest time, I was telling my wife, April, I was like, just trust me, you know, all these like long nights, the traveling, the conferences, the client meetings, it's going to be worth it. It's going to pay off, you know? And for that to fail was so, it was so humiliating to me personally, as a man, as a husband. I still feel it, always have felt like I want to provide for my family and provide for my wife and my kids. And so it was so hard for so many different reasons, both professionally and personally. And so I wallowed for a good couple months there. I'm not going to lie. I had a good wallow sesh. And basically it was in the ashes of that where I just started thinking about this pretty interesting perspective that I had now, which was like, I'd been a creator for so long doing all these deals, but also I've kind of been in the boardrooms now with these brands and advertisers who were saying, hey, we don't want to just pay you, April and Justin, like $5K, $10K over here. We want to spend $1 million across 200 creators. And that is like a very different conversation. It's like, what's the strategy? What types of creators should we be working with? What platforms should we be on at all? And so I also got to see a front row seat of them saying like, hey, don't ever send us that person's profile again because we don't want to work with them for these 3 reasons. And they would never say that to the creator themselves. But I was like privy to this. It was like, oh, wow. Like I didn't realize that this brand really cares about this thing they said on MySpace in 8th grade or whatever. I'm joking, but not actually. I'm not joking. And so it's these types of insights that led me to just start making some YouTube videos. Honestly, I was like, well, maybe this is kind of interesting. Like, how do you negotiate with the brand? How do you pitch a brand? How do you get on a phone call with a brand, which seems kind of terrifying. And so I never thought, oh, this is going to be my next business. It was like scratching a creative itch, trying to feel useful again after this awful thing that happened. And so, I mean, really the kernels was just like people started liking the videos. There's, oh, wow, this was cool. Can you also make a video about this? Or they would DM me and be like, hey, I don't have a manager, but I'm negotiating with this brand right now and I need help. I don't know what to say. Like, what should I charge? Like, what should I do? And so I just started helping people in the DMs, like for free and over email. And then someone messaged me one day. They're like, hey, do you have a course? And I was like, well, course? No. Let me go binge all of Amy Porterfield's podcasts and figure this whole thing out. And so honestly, it's led to this really surprising new business called Creator Wizard, where we focus on sponsorship education and coaching. So we are not managers, we're not agents, we're not brokers. We educate you and you keep everything. So it's a very different model. And in fact, I've pissed off a lot of people with this model because to be honest, like I have a lot of friends who are agents, a lot of friends who are managers. And so here I am like beating the drum over here being like 99% of creators do not need managers, which is what I really believe. And so, yeah, but I really do think like this is the most like aligned way I believe to help people is just like, let me teach you and you keep all the upside.
Yeah. Do you think an agent is more aimed towards someone who is just like really big and just does not have the time to do it? Do you think there's a specific person that an agent is a good idea for them?
No. Okay, let me qualify here. Sure. If you have 20 million followers, you're doing traditional TV and movie type deals, really large corporate ambassador endorsement type deals, a multi 7-figure partnership. Sure. Get an agent, go to CAA, go to WME. Fine. That is 0.001% of people. Yeah. The vast majority of people do not need that. But they are making money. They're making $1,000. They're making $5,000, making $10,000. And if you could read a book, if you could go through a course, if you could get coaching that would help you take that from $1,000 on average per deal to $5,000 a deal, doesn't that seem like a good investment for you and your creator business? This was the thesis. This was my thesis of like, and again, it's not about, well, I'm going to give 20 or 25% to this person. I have so many. Okay, let me share one story about why I think that managers are not great. Okay. So when I ran the agency, again, I was not representing talent. This is critical to clarify. I was more like an advertising agency. So our clients were the brand or larger like media agencies or something. So they would subcontract our agency and say, hey, we want to run a specific campaign for this. And so then we would go out and find talent for the deal. We would say, hey, we think you're a great fit for this, our client, for this campaign. And so this would happen. So we would get an RFP or a request for proposal from one of our clients. And they said, hey, we want to do this campaign. Go find some creators for us. So we would go out there and do this discovery process where we would just kind of start kicking the tires on people's digital presences. And so we would find someone who would say, oh, great, this person looks great. So let's reach out to them. We would click on their bio on Instagram or about section on YouTube, and it would be their manager's email address in the business inquiries form. And so we said, okay. So we send a message saying, hey, we think your client is a great fit for this campaign we're running. Are they interested? And so the manager would say, they would respond back and they'd say, hey, yeah, I think she'd probably be interested in this. But do you need additional talent? Because I also have these 19 other people, these 19 other DIY creators on my roster. Here's their pricing. Take a look. And I was horrified because, like, imagine a less ethical brand who would look at that list of pricing and be like, oh, these 3 other people are better and cheaper. Yeah. I'm going to go work with them. And you would have never known as a creator that you just like lost a deal, because again, your manager doesn't care where your 20% comes from. They don't care. If that's the only way they're eating, if you're not giving them a retainer, they don't care where the 20% comes from. So this happened many times, not just once. So again, I have friends who are managers. I love them to death. But like, there's a lot of bad actors in this industry. I have seen firsthand knowledge, again, from being a creator, but also seeing some of the bad behavior on the other side. And this is just one story and one small example. We could probably do a whole episode about this topic because I feel very passionate about it.
Yeah. Well, and we won't. We don't want to drag it out, but you just have that unique experience of being on the creator side, being on the agency side, talking to the brands directly. You just have so much experience. So I couldn't let you get away without answering some of that.
And
so I appreciate the dish.
Yes.
I appreciate the dish.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I kind of have a follow-up question to that because, we talk to a lot of creators on this podcast, and the feedback that we get from them is sort of they view hiring a manager as buying back some of their time, because brand partnerships do take a considerable chunk of time. And when you look at that as taking away from creating the actual content, I think that's why some creators find that it's worth it. So my question to you is this book and your content geared to help these creators streamline the process so it isn't such a time suck out of, their available hours for creating the actual content?
Okay, I got to step back up on my soapbox for a second here. We live in an unfortunate reality, not unfortunate. We live in a reality where it is not a wise business decision or perspective to say, well, I'm only going to work on the creative stuff and I just want to delegate the business stuff to someone else. I've been in this industry for a long time, and I can tell you almost unilaterally that if I look at all of the people who had that perspective over the last 15 years, where they just kind of delegated this, they hired a manager, they were in a multi-channel network or had an agent, whatever, almost without exception, those people are either no longer creators or they've really struggled. And almost without exception, the people who've decided, you know what? Okay, I'm going to be the CEO of my business. I got to learn this stuff. I got to understand what is the economic engine behind this thing that I'm doing. Almost without exception, those people are still really thriving. And so I think this is like an important thing to understand when you are a creator. It is not enough just to have your superpower being creating content. And that's great. That's a big part of it. That's a very high leverage thing for you to try to focus most of your time doing. But realizing that, it probably makes sense for me to carve out at least 20% of my time to work on the business stuff. And for me to be the one on the call with the brand, because that's what the brand is excited about, is working with me as the person. And they're going to pay me, I know this might be insane for people to hear, but for them to pay me 6 figures or even 5 figures, even multi 4 figures, it feels like a lot to a lot of brands, for you to get on a 20-minute phone call with them and be like, here's my creative idea. This is how I want to bring the partnership to life. That may be the very thing that gets this across the finish line. When they're, again, remember what I said, we would kick the tires on 20 creators, but we only needed 5. And so if there was a creator that was willing to just hop on a quick call and be like, just quickly hash out, it was a quick turnaround campaign, here's what I can do, here's the ideas, even if they were charging 2 or 3 times the amount of money that those other people who were just like, here's my rate, here's my media kit, here's my packages, and it's completely impersonal, I can't tell you how many times I made that call when I ran the agency that, let's just hire that more expensive person because it just feels like it's going to go better. And so my answer to your question is like, philosophically, I understand this scene. You read these business books where it's like, oh yeah, only your zone of genius, like spend 95% of time you're in your zone of genius. I do think you have to split hairs a bit here, because you do not have the luxury of completely checking out when it comes to this stuff. But what I'm not saying is don't have a team. I have a team. I have someone who helps with, calls with brands and things like that too. But at the end of the day, I am head of sales. I am head of business development. I'll be more than happy to get on a phone call with the brand if need be and it makes sense. This is my business. It's not someone else's business, right? And so, again, I understand the temptation, but I think it makes way more sense to train someone up in your methodology, whether it's a online business manager, OBM, or a very competent VA or someone to help you imagine a process or a system where there is some sort of handoff. This is what I usually recommend for people who go through my course or my coaching program, is basically they learn the foundational stuff. Or now you can read the book, right? I got a book now. This is sick.
You can take your time.
Now, yeah. I say, okay, you've learned all this stuff now. Go train this person in your methodology, and maybe they are the ones. Maybe let's say you are a creator getting a bunch of inbound deal flow. This person now does some level of, filtering, where they say, okay, ask some initial questions about whether it would be a good fit. And then when it seems like the brand is interested, you orchestrate some sort of handoff back to you. You say, okay, great. This sounds like it's going to be a good fit. I'm just going to CC Christina or Meggie back into this thread, and they'd be super happy to get on a call and kind of hash things out. That is a way more higher leverage thing to do than hiring a manager, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that. And I have to give your book a little plug. I have not read it yet, but we're going to give one away to someone who's watching this. So if you leave a comment, we're going to give a book away to someone, because people are probably like a book, but I will tell you, like, the book that changed my life, and this was in like 2019 that came out, was YouTube Secrets. And it was, Sean Cannell from Think Media. And so that was like my onboarding with him. I'd kind of been watching him, but I was like, okay, I'm going to read this book just because I want to support these guys, because they've helped me so much. And just hearing all the success stories of YouTube channels, looking at the different people, the different niches, like getting the brand deals, doing the affiliate, it just gave me the courage to be like, okay, I can do this. And it was like an onboarding point with them. And like, yeah, if I want to do coaching with them or courses or watch more of their YouTube videos. So if anybody is like scared and feeling like, so, okay, Justin's so high level, I can't even understand half the things he's saying. I don't need a team. I just want to start. Like, this is such a good starting off point, because you don't have to commit to taking the course right now. Like, just get the book, hear the story, hear the encouragement, and it's going to be like a great jumping off point for you. So I just want to do a little plug, because I became a full-time YouTuber because I read a book called YouTube Secrets. So
that is incredible.
This could be your day where you
and you know what?
Today,
I'm gonna text Sean right now and tell him this. I'm gonna send him a screenshot and be like, guess what? Guess what? Christina said. So I do want to I hear you. I understand there might be a lot of people listening who have either never done sponsorships, or maybe you're kind of at the beginning of your journey creating. And I understand that this can feel a little intimidating. I know we didn't get into it pretty hot and heavy right away. I will accept responsibility for that. But if we just come down to first principles, I think it would be maybe a bit useful at this juncture of the conversation to talk about something like a very, very simple principle that I think everyone can understand, that may turn you or get you over the fence of thinking, okay, maybe I will think about sponsorship. So what oftentimes happens when a creator tries to reach out to a brand the very first time, it's a scary moment. It's like, what if they say no? What if they reject me? This massive imposter syndrome. Like, I'm little old me. I only got X number of followers. Like, why would they work with me? There's all these DIY creators who have millions of followers, this type of thing. So there's a lot of imposter syndrome. A lot of head junk. And so the form that these pitches take, though, is very narcissistic. It's like, hi, my name is Justin. I have this many followers. This is my audience demographics. This is how many views I'm getting on my blah, 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 blah. I would love to figure out a way to collaborate. I've been using your product for 3 years. This is what 99% of pitches look like, because I've seen them. I've been on the receiving end of these pitches, right? And so I know what the pitches look like.
Okay, we've sent some of those pitches.
Yeah.
She used to pitch for me. She
So
said
did we.
so have I.
So did
no
we.
Shame,
That was
no shame.
This is what everyone does. In fact, like one of the first stories in the book is the awful pitches that we sent, early on to just like comfort people. Like this is normal. This is what everyone does. You guys ever do the thing where you like copy and paste the same subject line and you just like insert a new name in front? Like for us, it was like we wanted to go on our honeymoon in Asia. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to email like literally hundreds of hotels in Asia all over and be like, oh, I'd love to like, work. And so we would just like copy and paste. It was terrible. But basically, so this is the form that most of these types of pitches take when creators first reaching out. And so what happens? You get ghosted, you get rejected, and then you think, well, I guess pitching doesn't work. This is what happens. This is what people think, which is 100% false. Okay, and so a much more the mindset shift that you need to have around this is that brands do not have random piles of money lying around to pay people that reach out. They just don't. They don't know who you are. There's lots of people who have lots of followers on the internet. Oh shoot, they just deleted your email, right? They don't care. However, if you can take a step back and think, okay, what does it seem like this brand cares about right now? Now, I'm going to go look at their social media. I'm going to go look at their Instagram. What types of things are they posting? What types of campaigns does it seem like they're running? What is their head of marketing talking about on LinkedIn in this post that she made? This is really interesting. So I'm going to inform myself about what it seems like matters in the brand's world right now. And that's what I'm going to lead with when I reach out. And you know what the beautiful thing about this realization is that this is what the brands have money for. Their own initiatives, their own objectives. That's what they have budgets allocated for. And so your task as a creator when you pitch them is to help them understand that you will help them accomplish their business objectives by sponsoring you. It's very simple. This is the mindset shift. It's a positioning exercise.
That's so good. I love like the detective work that you just gave us, like, oh, go check their social media, go to their LinkedIn, see who their marketing manager is, see if they spoke recently, like at a convention and what did they talk about? Go see if you can find their talk on YouTube. Like, I just love these little like breadcrumbs you're giving us. Like, go on an investigation and make it about them. Don't make it about you.
Should we do a real-time case study to get the Cypress Room podcast sponsored?
Yes!
Oh my God.
Okay.
I was just going to say that.
I read your mind. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is I want you to give me a couple of brands that you would just love to partner with for this podcast.
Oh my gosh, where's our list? We have our list on our phone.
You have a list. Pull the list
Okay,
up.
wait.
Or just throw one out.
I'm going to throw one out.
Okay.
Murad Skincare is
Murad?
one for me.
Okay.
You pick one that you know that you love that we talk about on the podcast a lot.
Well, I was going to say like the CRZ Yoga brand of stuff, or even Riverside, Canva, ManyChat, Spotter Studio, all the tools we use.
What do you think?
Okay.
Should we do more of a lifestyle brand or
Okay,
something more
so-
specific to the podcast? See, this is
Okay,
real time.
Yeah.
This is a great learning lesson here, actually, which is that this is what people struggle with is they think I do a lot of things. I'm a lifestyle creator. I also could talk about tools, camera, software, this type of thing. What do I do? And so if you are someone listening at this juncture, just like Christina and Meggie, the best way to make this decision of the types of brands that I should partner with is involve your audience in this decision. So it's a survey that you send out, you put in the show notes of every podcast, or you put it on Instagram stories or whatever. And you say, hey, I want to learn more about you. I'm planning out my content strategy for 2025, or I'm planning out whatever. And it would mean so much to me if you just took 30 seconds, like answer these like 6 questions or whatever. And the questions are as follows. It's, hey, are you married? Do you have kids? What type of jobs do you have? What is keeping you up at night? What problems do you have? What brands and products and services are you using and loving right now or are interested in? And so these are just some of the types of questions that you can answer. And then, let's say you do this survey, you get a bunch of respondents back from this assessment or this survey, and you you realize like, wow, I didn't realize 40% of our audience, or the people who responded to this, are stay-at-home moms. I didn't realize that. That's really interesting. Wow. And they're also saying that they're having issues with, whatever. They have young kids, under 5, whatever. Maybe I should go out and pitch ABC Mouse.
Yeah.
That's actually a really interesting partnership because, again, it's about them. It's about the problems that they're having. And you would have never thought like ABC Mouse. That's totally irrelevant to like what we talk about in this podcast. But I bet you could probably think of a pretty creative way to integrate that into the content, because again, it's not just about we're not just running businesses here, trying to be creators. We also have families. We also have partners. We're trying to have a enjoyable life. And so this is the unlock, is that it's not just about you and what brands and products and services you love. It's about your audience. In fact, you're actually kind of irrelevant. If I'm honest, the brand doesn't really care. Their goal is to access a big pool of prospective customers, which is your audience, not you. You loving it is table stakes. That's what everyone says. Oh, I love your brand, right? That's what everyone says, right? And so this is the game changer. Is like, if you don't know the answer to this kind of a dilemma that we're talking about right now, you got to ask your audience. You got to involve them. And by the way, I talk about this in my new book, Sponsor Magnet. Totally shameless plug. Okay, so let's just assume. Let's assume you gave me a couple ideas here. Let's just assume that you do have this Murad skincare. I should know that because my wife likes this brand. That this comes back. That some people in this survey or audience are saying, I've just had a lot of self-confidence issues because my skin going crazy after I had kids. Like I get all these acne flare-ups, like or hair loss, whatever. I know my wife went through a lot after childbirth, and so like that's really interesting insight for people in our audience who are, primarily female and these ages, and they're having these issues, et cetera. So, so you start to think, okay, yeah, I actually think that Murad would be a great fit for this because of the issues that my audience is having, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And what I'm going to do is, let me pull up, share my screen here. And tell me if you can see this here.
We can.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up Murad's Instagram, okay? And let's say we're sitting here, time of recording, late January, and we're sitting here thinking like, it's a New Year's resolution. I finally want to like be confident about my skin. That is a terrible pitch. You want to know why? Because they already planned their New Year's campaign 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It takes a long time to plan these types of activations. So we don't want to know what Murad is talking about in January. We want to know, what is Murad talking about in May? Mm-hmm. What were they talking about in May of last year? So the thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll back. For those of you who are just listening and not watching, I'm going to scroll back on Murad's Instagram to last May. Okay. So we're scrolling, just getting a sense of kind of like, what is the visual imagery? May. Okay, we're here where are we? Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to start doing a little bit of sleuthing. I want to see, what are we talking about here? Okay, so here we go. I have a pitch ready. It took 2 seconds. Last May, they were talking about Stress Less Week. This was a campaign that they were running. Stress Less Week. Last month, 25 Active Mind chapters across the country celebrated Stress Less Week, and they did this partnership with Active Minds. So we could look at what this organization is. This is really interesting. This is super cool because we all know how much stress plays a role in our skin, right?
Yeah.
So you know what the subject line of our pitch to Murad is? It's Stress Less Week in 2025? Question mark? That's the pitch.
I know.
So the first line of the email is, hey, I saw that you were running this campaign last year. I love it. For the following reasons, like, this is so awesome. In fact, I also talk about this on my podcast or on my, Instagram or on my YouTube or whatever. And then you link a post where you talk about how important it is to manage your stress as a mom, as a wife, as a woman, whatever. And by the way, if you don't have a post talking about this, you make one. before you pitch them.
Or we could
And
link
it's
to
not
our
just-
mental health episode that we did.
Yeah, you link to your mental health episode. And
Yeah.
again, it's not that the post that you make, it's not just about serving the brand. It's about, it'll still be useful to your audience. It'll be very helpful, but you know strategically in your mind that you're going to use that episode when you pitch this brand in a couple weeks. Okay. And so then you link that post and then you say, I was curious if you're going to run this campaign again this year. Here's what I would love to do to help you spread the word about this. I can do 10 podcast integrations. I can do 2 YouTube integrations. I can blast it out to our newsletter of 5,000 of our most engaged audience members. Happy to share some results of how I've helped CRZ Yoga achieve results as well. Are you free on Thursday at 10 a.m. to talk about this? That's the pitch.
Yeah.
So what I just described is something that I call the rope pitching method, ROPE. So your pitch has to be relevant to a brand that a campaign the brand has either running currently or has run in the past. O stands for organic, meaning that you can tie your pitch back to organic work that you've already published that illustrates that your audience has an affinity for their brand. P stands for proof, so you can show how you've helped other brands achieve results. And E stands for easy to execute, when they say, hey, yeah, this is interesting. So you're actually pitching them something. You're not just saying, oh, I'd love to figure out a way to collaborate. So how are we feeling?
Oh my gosh. I'm feeling so confident.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about it a lot, but have we really pitched anybody for Cypress Room?
Not really.
Not really.
And this is kind of my add-on question to that is I think like we've been waiting to like get a certain follower count to like bring this value proposition to a brand. So can you kind of add on to that how smaller starting out creators can bring in the value? Because I think in our past experience, and maybe this is changing going forward, is brands looking for link clicks, looking for, click-through rates. And when you are a smaller creator, how can you effectively, make a value proposition to a brand on why this partnership is a great idea?
Okay, so going back to something we talked about a bit earlier in the conversation around the value of getting on a phone call with a brand, is that one of the leading questions that you need to ask them when you're on this call is, what does success look like to you? Yeah. What would a win look like? Because in the absence of knowing that information, most creators assume it's clicks. They assume it's sales. They assume it's conversions. And so there's actually 3 goal types that brands have when they want to collaborate with creators. So I call it my ARC framework. So ARC. So A is awareness. So the primary reason that the brand wants to collaborate with y'all is to spread the word about Stress Less Week, or they spread the word about some initiative or some campaign, a seasonal promotion. Maybe the product was only available in the UK. Now it's available in the US. So really they're trying to spread the word. The R in ARC is repurposing. So the primary reason that they want to hire you is they really don't care about you posting it on the Cypress Room podcast or on your YouTube channel. They want to take the content and use it elsewhere, on their website, on an e-commerce platform, social media, maybe for paid advertising. And the C in ARC is conversion. So it's the thing you said, Meggie. It's like sales, clicks, something attributable, measurable, trackable, right? And so the reason that it's so critical that you ascertain their goal is so you don't lead the witness when you reach out to them for a potential collaboration, because they may very well care about something completely different than what you thought that they did. I remember a conversation one time. I had this light bulb moment early on in my wife and I's journey where I started thinking about a lot of these things. And a brand came inbound to us saying like, hey, how much for like a 90-second YouTube integration? This is like a pretty normal ask for brands reaching out back in the day. And so what we used to do is we would just spit back one number. We would be like 1,500 or 2,500, whatever. And then we would like cry later in the shower about it. Not that I ever did that. And so first, so basically the next time that happened, I was like, well, actually, what's your goal? Like, to collaborate with us? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And the brand said, I'll never forget this. They said, well, after you publish your video, we want the footage so that we could cut it down into a 30-second version and run YouTube TrueView ads with it. That's what we care about. And so I said, oh, well, if that's the case, what I can do is I can create 5 30-second videos that we don't even post, that we vary the hook, we vary the call to action. You just throw all these in the Meta Facebook or YouTube black box, see which one ad performs better. It's going to be 10K, which was 5 times more than we would charge them for YouTube integration. And they said, sure, sounds good. And oh my God, my mind was blown because again, and what I hope everyone listening, this really exciting and liberating thing I hope people hear is that in a repurposing goal type, the rate that you can charge is completely detached from your following. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They just told you that. And so I think this is a really, really important lesson to understand that what you pitch to the brand has to change based on what they tell you their goal is.
Yeah, I love that.
I do too. And it also reinforces the importance of sometimes a phone call, because I think so much gets lost when you are only communicating via email. Would you agree?
And all you're talking about is a rate.
Yes.
Like when people when people email me and they're pitching me something and all they want to talk about is a rate and a click-through rate. And I'm just like, I know for me, like, you are not going to be happy with this. Like, here is what I can offer. Like, I'm really good at, putting it together a piece and I'll splice it up for you. I'll edit it. Like, I've pitched stuff to people like that before. They're like, oh, that's not what we're looking for. And I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. And I say goodbye to money because I know they're not going to get from me what they want. And then it's just, no one's going to be happy. And then, yay, I made like $1,500, but nobody's happy and they're never going to work with me again. So I'm just like, have learned to let those go because it makes room for things that I really do want to work on and for people who do want to pay me. And then they're happy with what they get.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you brought this point up because my students and my coaching clients constantly come to me with that obstacle, that block, where they are working with a lot of brands, but it's all very small dollar amounts. It's $50, $100, $200, and it all adds up to a couple $1,000s a month, which is amazing. I'm not going to minimize that for anyone like that. Right. Even now, that's a lot of money. That $700 a month story I told earlier, that's still a lot of money to us. Like, damn, that's crazy. And so, but what you just said is so critical, is like saying no to 5 of these 10 deals that I'm doing on a recurring basis where no matter what I say, the brand will not pay me more money, but it's been consistent and they've been paying me this for a year. I don't want to rock the boat because if I do, then they're not going to pay me. But it's that thing. It's saying no gives you mental space to make room for more proactive types of activities that will, be much more additive to your business overall. Actually, let's talk about this because this is really important. I feel like I'm like taking over the podcast, but we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this point, which is like, I think a lot of people think that the Holy Grail is inbound. They think if I build it, they will come. I'm just going to focus on growing my audience. And then when a brand deems me worthy, then they'll reach out to me. Right. And the tricky thing, on the surface, that sounds great. But the tricky part is that when a brand comes inbound to you, basically everything about this campaign is fully baked already. The campaign guidelines, the talking points, what they want you to say, the types of content, the platforms they want you to activate on, the timeline, the terms, and the budget. Frankly, it's fixed, right? All of and again, they're trying to Tetris the budget together with 50 other people, and they're trying to activate. And that feels not great sometimes because if you try to negotiate with the brand, they're just like, we can pay you $500, take it or leave it, and you're just like, okay, fine, right? And so that doesn't feel great. And so the most lucrative deals that my wife and I have ever done throughout our whole career as creators has been the ones where it was us reaching out to the brand with a proactive idea, and it was kind of a blank slate because the brand wasn't planning on running a campaign around that, but they do have this business outcome that they're trying to accomplish. And here we come being like, hey, if you allocate 50K of that 200K that you've allocated to this objective, we actually can help you move the needle and get you closer to this outcome in the following way. We'll do this for you. And so it's a much easier justification for the brand to say yes to that. And the dollar values go way up because they again, that's what they have budgets for, their own initiatives. And so I just think that the switching your brain to realizing that the Holy Grail is not inbound. The Holy Grail is, I believe, a combination of the majority outbound and minority inbound.
My favorite thing to do now is I came up in YouTube too. So it was mostly like doing those, one-off 90-second integrations. Then we kind of built up some long-term partnerships that were specific to DIY. And, then we kind of cycled through those. And now my favorite ones to make are campaigns that they have the budget to put it out as a commercial or to repurpose it. And I'm the type of person that I want to be creative, but I also like a little direction. So I like being part of these campaigns. And I like knowing that the onus is not on me for that content to perform. Like they just want it to they want it to look good. They like working with me. I hit my deadlines. I hit my beats. They like my script. They like my storyboard. And then they're going to put a lot of money behind it. And so I don't have to worry about it performing. That's kind of been my sweet spot lately. And I know that's like every creator's going to have like a different sweet spot. Some people are just going to take those 90-second deals and just make the YouTube videos that they want to make. And I guess like it's okay to find your sweet spot. And I love that you're kind of giving us like, here's the different ones that I've done. Here's what works for me. And you get to kind of choose what one serves you best and what one serves your brand best.
First of all, I think it's fantastic that you found what your sweet spot is, because I think a lot of creators struggle to figure out like, what is my specialty? I don't really know. I'm going to take whatever I can get, this type of thing. I just share a quick story. So last weekend, like I think it was maybe Thursday or Friday, an agency emailed us that my wife and I have worked with many times. And they were, April and Justin, we're in a real pickle. Like we have this really quick turnaround time campaign. It's this. You have to go to the store to pick up the food product. You have to do this. You have to, we got to get the concept. Can you send us a concept by the end of the day? Can you, we got to get it approved by the brand before the weekend, this type of thing. And, it was a 10K deal. And it was, we had to move a few things around in our weekend to like pull it off, but we were like, yes, we can do it. We emailed them. From the first time that they reached out about the email, we responded in 15 minutes because I saw this email come in. I said, yes, we're interested. We hammered out like kind of the details. And then they said, we're going to get going on the contract. Is there any way like, you can start thinking of a high level concept? They sent the concept doc with like the beats that they needed. I sent the concept back within like 25 minutes. And I could pull up the email, but she said, April and Justin, you are a dream. That was her word. Working with you is a dream.
Yeah.
And so to your point, if you looked at my wife and I's influence, viewership, metrics, engagement now versus 15 years ago, whatever, we are literally at the lowest.
Yeah.
Like influence that we've ever been, right? Views, like whatever, pick a metric, right? It's the lowest it's ever been. And yet we're making the most amount of money that we've ever made because we know the product that we're selling.
Yeah.
It's, like you said, professionalism. We're going to hit every talking point. If they come back to us with feedback, we're not going to be like, how dare you violate my creative genius? No, I'm not going to do that 20-second voiceover. You have to pay me $2,500 more money. Creators do this. I ran an agency. This is what people are. They're divas. They're very difficult to work with. And, we say to the brand, oh yeah, sure. That's going to take 30 seconds. No problem. Here you go. Yeah. Right. And so that's what we're selling. And so the vast majority of the partnerships and how we've been able to make these millions of dollars doing deals is understanding that, if we can just really help people out on a pinch and really make them look like heroes, they're going to remember that.
Yeah. And there's so much to just being kind.
Yeah.
And again, not making it all about you. And when you are talking with these people, like not just what can I get out of you, but like, oh, how's your boyfriend doing? Or like, oh my gosh, your dog was sick. Like, how's your dog doing? Like really treating people like humans and being in relationship with them. And not to get something, you guys, not to get something. It just makes the whole creative process and working with brands, it just makes it so much richer for each person, like for both sides. And like you said, I think a lot of times you are going to get the deal because of your kindness and your humility and stuff like that, instead of being like, well, I'm so great, like you should work with me, and just making it all about business. Sometimes that's the thing that's going to get you the job.
Yes.
One thing that really resonated with me in a recent episode that you guys did with Flip by Abby.
Wait, you watched us. Woo.
Yes, of course. Come on.
That's recent.
I know.
You were cramming this morning. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. No, she talked about how she you guys asked her, like, how did you make that jump from short form to long form, right? That's a difficult thing. And she was just like, oh yeah, I just got like one tripod and I got 2 phones and put it on the same tripod. And I think that same philosophy of how can I simplify this idea about working with brands, because it feels very overwhelming. I totally understand. You might like listen back to this episode and be just like, oh my God, this is like so many steps. I'm at step 1 here. I don't even know what to do. And so this idea of simplifying it into a system, into a process, this is really what I tried to do with my book Sponsor Magnet, is to just lay it out in a step-by-step fashion. I have this 8-step process, this framework that I call the sponsorship wheel, where it's basically step 1 is pitch, step 2 is negotiate, step 3 is contract, step 4 is concept, step 5 is produce, step 6 is, and of course my alarm's going off, of course.
Like you have to get off the podcast.
No. Oh my God. Where was I? Step 6 is produce, step 7 is publish. No, step 6 is feedback, step 7 is publish, step 8 is analyze. So it's this 8-step framework. And I really do sincerely believe that this will be the most helpful thing for if you're at the very beginning and struggling to know how to even begin.
Yeah, and I love that. I love the process, because the follow-up after the project is done is one of the most important parts, and it's the easiest one to just be like, I'm too busy or whatever. Yep. And it's like so important to follow up, and to follow up multiple times to make sure everything is good, that they have everything, that they have the analytics and everything that they need, and that you care, that the project went well for them and all of that. So I love that.
Yes, and I have one question that's like a pre-step to your process for somebody who has never reached out to a brand before, but they want to get started. They want to start your process, but how do they even get the contact information to get that email to the right person? Do you have that in your book as well?
Well,
if you turn to page 69, no, I'm serious. If you turn to page 69 in my book, I have something called the job title targeting matrix. So I talk about, depending on the scale of the organization, what types of titles you should be targeting. Because if you're trying to pitch Nike, don't pitch the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. They have nothing to do with paid partnerships. But if you are pitching a small mom and pop shop who has 15 employees, the director of marketing is probably your person. They probably only have one marketing person on their staff. And so it really is a matter of educating yourself of the types of titles you need to be targeting. I talk about how you use tools like LinkedIn and other platforms that you can start analyzing kind of the marketing hierarchy at these organizations, so you can make an informed decision about how you actually can reach out to some of these brands. And I'm just going to say it. I have some pretty sick bonus resources if you buy the book that you get access to that will help you with this process of actually understanding how to reach out, find the email addresses and things like that.
Very cool. It sounds like an amazing resource. So like I said, we want to give one away to a lucky viewer. So if you just leave a comment, you can leave a question for Justin, for us. If you just want to be like, I want to win the book, just leave a comment for us and we'll get somebody a book.
Yeah. And for those people who want to purchase the book, can you go ahead and tell us all the places that they can find it?
Yeah, sure. So the best place is just sponsormagnet.com. You can get it in basically any format. And then we'll become friends and BFFs, because that'll be great. Because if you purchase it elsewhere, I won't know who you are. So the website's the best.
Yeah, I've been following you for quite a while on my personal channels, and you have offered so much information for free for so long that I'm really excited that now it's kind of all in one place in this easy to follow format for beginners. So I think it's going to be super helpful.
Such a good jumping off point. Like I said, reading a book, 6 years ago changed my life and created me as a YouTuber. So I'm hoping that's going to happen for someone today, to give them that confidence to just take that first step. And you can just digest it as you have time, guys.
Yeah.
That's what I love about a book. But before you leave, we don't want to, you have divulged so many secrets today.
Yes.
So we appreciate that. You have given us a footing on landing our first partnership for the Cypress Room. So we really appreciate that. I just wanted to give you a little encouragement today, because I just think, you have just been such a bright spot for me that has popped up on YouTube, on Instagram. Just your energy and your passion is just inspiring, and it's contagious. And so getting to hear that story today of where that came from, and that you had this plan and like, hey, I built this up and this is great. And then, 2020 happened. And this has been a thing that we've heard over and over again, almost every interview we do. Like 2020 was like a reset for people, and they lost like so much stuff, like houses, money, jobs, and to see what you've been able to build off of something that was so devastating, and you sharing just like, I didn't know how I was going to take care of my family. I'm crying. I'm this, and how you've turned it around to not only build a business back up for you and your family and a legacy for your family, but the way that you're encouraging and empowering people to, take hold of their brand, take hold of their business, and hold their hand step by step, do it. Like, I just thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that story, because we've always felt like connected to you, but having that back end of the story and that real vulnerable thing, like just, oh yeah, this all makes sense to me, like why this works out. And like wherever you're at, you guys, just like, I want Justin to be an encouragement to you that bad things do happen, but like beautiful, beautiful things can come from ashes. And so I just loved the vulnerability that you shared with us today, and just all the resource you've been to me, and I know a bunch of other people.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, you got me in my feels right now. That was very kind. Can you be my hype woman right before I'm about to talk on a stage or something? Just stand like you. I can't tell you how much that means to me, honestly. And just as like a parting thought, I really do look at this book and just kind of what I'm doing right now in terms of educating people as like my legacy, is like we've been blessed with so much success and failures, but hopefully mostly success over the years. And now it's like educating the next generation of creators, influencers, entrepreneurs. I feel like it is my duty. And so if any of you are listening, if there's one thing that I could ask of you, is that if you have anytime you're having a conversation with a friend or something who's saying, you know what, I'm really struggling. I don't know how I'm going to make this creative thing into what I want it to be, struggling to figure out how to like handle this financially, make it viable for me, just send it my way, send it to the book. That would mean the world to me.
Yeah. Wow. I really just admire the way that you love and are passionate about empowering people to know their value and their worth, and just to give them that little push that, yes, you can do this. This is possible for you. And I think, the ripple effect of that is going to be probably bigger than you can imagine. And I just think that's really powerful. Yay. So thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be on here with us today. We really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And we will put all the places that you can find Justin and his book, The Sponsor Magnet, in the description box below. So go ahead and leave us a comment with any additional questions, feedback, what you're going to go run and implement in your own business. We'd love to hear that stuff.
We can't wait to hear about your first brand deal.
Yes.
Best of luck.
We're going to report back on our first brand deal.
We'll be back. We'll be back. Thanks, you guys. And we'll see you next time in the Cypress Room.